The Christmas season was in full swing, and the city of Lagos buzzed with excitement. Here we come to Mr. Daniel, a hard-working man civil servant. It was Friday afternoon, 4 days before Christmas, sitting in his office, thinking about a long-awaited planned trip to take his family to their village to celebrate Christmas. His wife Jane and their 3 children, Dan, 9 years old, Ada, 7 years old, and baby Tunda, 2 years old, were so excited to reconnect with family. The days leading up to Christmas were busy in Mr. Daniel's household. The city of Lagos was alive with the festive buzz, and the streets sparkled with decorations. Mr. Daniel's children eagerly talked about seeing their grandparents, uncles, and cousins in the village. For Mr. Daniel and his family, this was the most exciting time of the year. Every December, they traveled to their hometown in the East to celebrate Christmas and New Year with extended family. This year was no different, or so they thought. Jane, Mr. Daniel's wife, was busy packing the essentials: clothes, gifts, and a basket of food she planned to share with their relatives. Dan, Ada, and baby Tunde played in the living room, occasionally sneaking glances at the wrapped gifts. Meanwhile, Mr. Daniel checked the car's oil, tire pressure, and fuel. He was confident everything was in perfect shape. By 5 a.m. on Saturday, the family was up and ready. Jane ensured every bag was packed, while Mr. Daniel double-checked the vehicle. Their Toyota Sienna was loaded with gifts, food, and clothing for the long-awaited reunion in the village. As they gathered in the living room, Jane once again reminded Daniel to lead a prayer. "We'll pray once we're on the road," Daniel said, brushing it off. "We are fine, Jane. God knows we're in a hurry. We will pray on the way." Reluctantly, Jane let it go, holding baby Tund as they piled into the car. The road was lively with other travelers heading east for the holidays. The children were cheerful, singing Christmas carols in the back seat. "Mama, will Grandpa have our favorite rice ready?" Ada asked eagerly. "Yes, dear," Jane replied with a warm smile. "Your grandmother will have the Christmas chicken, too." For the first hour, everything seemed perfect. The roads were clear, and Daniel felt confident behind the wheel. Around 7 a.m., the car's air conditioning suddenly stopped working. "It's just a minor issue," Daniel said, rolling down the windows to let in fresh air. Jane gave him a look but didn't argue. The humid December air was uncomfortable, but they pressed on. Shortly after, they encountered heavy traffic. A long queue of vehicles stretched ahead, delaying them by an hour. Frustration crept in, but Daniel reassured his family, "We'll make up for lost time once we clear the road." As they approached a highway junction, they hit a massive traffic jam. Commercial buses and private cars were stuck in a long line, with impatient drivers honking endlessly. "This might take a while," Jane muttered. After an hour of slow progress, they finally broke free of the congestion. The road ahead was clear, and Mr. Daniel felt relieved. "We'll make up for lost time," he said confidently. As they reached a less populated stretch of the highway, they came across a group of local vigilantes who had set up a makeshift checkpoint. One of them approached the car. "Good morning, sir," the man greeted politely. "There have been reports of robberies ahead. Please be cautious." Daniel nodded, thanked the man, and drove on. Jane, uneasy, said, "Daniel, maybe we should stop somewhere until it's safer." "Nonsense," Daniel replied. "We can't delay our journey over rumors." As they continued, the once cheerful atmosphere in the car faded. The road was eerily empty, with no other vehicles in sight. Jane's unease grew, but she didn't voice her concerns. The road became eerily quiet as they continued. Suddenly, a couple of armed men emerged from the bushes, blocking their path. "Stop the car!" one of them yelled, brandishing a gun. Jane screamed, clutching Tunda. Daniel hit the brakes, his hands trembling as the robbers surrounded the vehicle. "Everyone out! Now!" one barked. Daniel stepped out slowly, signaling for Jane and the children to do the same. The robbers forced the family out of the car. "Hands up! Move quickly!" one of them barked. Trembling, Daniel and Jane obeyed, shielding their children as much as possible. The robbers ransacked the car, taking the gifts, Jane's food basket, and even the children's toys. "Please, leave us something for the children," Jane pleaded, but her cries were met with mocking laughter. One of the robbers turned to Mr. Daniel. "You're lucky we don't need this car," he said menacingly. "Next time, pray harder. Maybe your God will protect you better." Suddenly, the sound of a tire burst echoed down the road. It was from an oncoming truck. Panicked, the robbers assumed it was security forces and fled into the bushes. The truck stopped nearby, and a man stepped out. "Are you okay?" he called out. Shaken but unharmed, Mr. Daniel explained the situation. The man introduced himself as Pastor Ezekiel and offered to help. Pastor Ezekiel gathered the family by the roadside and prayed fervently, thanking God for their lives. For the first time, Mr. Daniel realized how close they had come to disaster. The family couldn't continue on the road alone, so Pastor Ezekiel escorted them to the nearest town. They walked for nearly an hour, carrying baby Tunda and comforting the older children. They arrived at a small church where Pastor Ezekiel introduced them to the pastor in charge. The church provided food, water, and a place to rest. That evening, Mr. Daniel sat with Jane and the children. "I'm sorry for not listening to you," he said. "I was too confident in myself. I should have prayed." Jane, though tired, smiled and said, "What matters is that we're safe. We thank God for His mercy." Dan and Ada, though young, listened intently as their father explained the importance of seeking God's protection. "We may think we're in control," he told them, "but God is the ultimate protector." Mr. Daniel spent the night reflecting on the incident. He thought about how easily the situation could have turned fatal, and how the robber's words, mocking his lack of prayer, had hit him hard. The family woke early, refreshed, and ready to continue their journey. With Pastor Ezekiel's help, a local mechanic inspected their car. It was still in good condition, despite the robbery. Before they left, Pastor Ezekiel led another prayer, asking for a safe journey ahead. This time, Mr. Daniel didn't hesitate to bow his head and join in. The family finally arrived in the village late that evening. Their relatives, who had been worried after not hearing from them, rushed out to greet them with hugs and tears of relief. Over the next few days, Mr. Daniel shared his story with everyone who would listen. He emphasized how God had intervened to protect them, despite his initial lack of prayer. From that day on, Mr. Daniel made it a family tradition to pray before every journey. He taught his children the value of humility and trust in God. Though the Christmas gifts and food were gone, the family celebrated with joy and gratitude. They realized that their safety was the greatest gift of all. Their experience became a powerful testimony, and Mr. Daniel vowed never to travel again without committing the journey to prayer. Themes of the story. 1. The power of faith. The story emphasizes the importance of prayer as a shield in times of uncertainty. 2. Family unity. The ordeal strengthens the bond between Mr. Daniel, his wife, and their children. 3 lessons in humility. Mr. Daniel learns a humbling lesson about the limits of human control. 4. Divine intervention. The timely arrival of Pastor Ezekiel underscores God's unseen hand in difficult moments. 5. The power of faith in prayer. Prayer serves as a central theme, showing its importance in seeking divine protection and guidance. The story reminds readers to entrust their journeys and lives to God. 6. Family unity in times of crisis. The story highlights how crises can strengthen family bonds. Mr. Daniel and his family supported each other through fear, uncertainty, and relief, becoming closer by the end of the ordeal. 7. Humility and acknowledgement of human limits. Mr. Daniel's experience humbled him, teaching that no matter how prepared we feel, we are not in complete control of life's events. 8. Gratitude for life's essentials. The family lost material possessions, but gained a deeper appreciation for life and safety. As a greater advice, always pray before traveling. The story emphasizes the importance of committing every journey to God. Prayer provides spiritual guidance and protection, especially in uncertain situations. Heed warnings and listen to loved ones. Mr. Daniel ignored his wife's suggestion to pray and dismissed the vigilante's warnings. The story teaches that ignoring advice, especially from those who care about us, can lead to unnecessary trouble. Don't overestimate your preparedness. Mr. Daniel's confidence in his car and driving abilities led him to ignore the risks of the journey. This highlights the importance of humility and recognizing that some things are beyond our control. Be alert and cautious. During holiday travels, the festive season often sees an increase in road accidents, traffic, and crime. This story warns travelers to be vigilant, avoid lonely roads, and travel during safe hours. Gratitude for safety, over material loss. Despite losing gifts and other valuables, Mr. Daniel and his family learned to prioritize the gift of life. Valuables can be replaced, but life cannot. Rely on community support. When facing challenges, seeking help from kind strangers or the community, like Pastor Ezekiel, can make a difference. Don't hesitate to ask for help when needed.